In the whole row over the BBC documentary, Gaza, How to Survive a Warzone, not one word was written about what this film told us about the way Palestinians are surviving a war that has spanned a year and a half. None of the following voices appear to have been heard in the controversy over screening this film. A woman fleeing another Israeli evacuation order, shouting to no one in particular, "God damn you all, may God curse you, Sinwar," referring to the Hamas leader, Yahya Sinwar. A boy asking the camera in a deadpan tone, "We saw people dead in front of us. One had his guts coming out of his stomach. Are we in a safe place?" Nor indeed the orthopedic surgeon from London, Mohammed Tahir, holding up the arm he had just amputated from a 10-year-old boy and screaming, "Look what the Israelis are doing to the children of Gaza." Because the whole purpose of preventing a documentary like this from being broadcast is to gag the people of Gaza. The furor has focused like a laser on Abdullah al-Yazuri, the 13-year-old narrator who has committed, in the eyes of Israel's propaganda machine, 3 capital offences. First and foremost, he is alive. More than 14,500 of his peers are not. His second offence is to speak English fluently and thus be credible to a Western audience. This is a monopoly held and policed by supporters of Israel only. Abdullah's third offence is to be non-political. He is the one who delivers statements from the Israeli army after each civilian massacre its soldiers and drones commit. The only line of editorial Abdullah delivers is hard for anyone outside of Gaza to disagree with. "Have you ever wondered," he says, "what you'd do if your world was destroyed?" When it was revealed that Abdullah's father was Deputy Agricultural Minister in the government run by Hamas, the BBC folded like a pack of cards. He was widely labelled as a Hamas chief, a Hamas official, a terror chief by commentators and news organisations in Britain. But Yazuri has a scientific rather than political background. He worked for the Emirati Education Ministry, which is no lover or employer of anyone linked to the Muslim Brotherhood. He got his PhD at British University. If any government is formed in Gaza after this war, it will be run by technocrats like Yazuri. And yet to the Israeli military, anyone who works in Gaza, whether technocrat, professor, medic, journalist or aid distributor, is a target. Its drones and missiles have killed these professionals deliberately. A vast amount of evidence exists to this effect. But to the international community, which includes Britain, technocrats like Yazuri are the only solution to the post-war governance of Gaza. And neither the BBC nor Channel 4, if they are true to their public service charters, are supposed to base their editorial judgments on the propaganda of Israeli military intelligence. Neither broadcaster subscribes to the view that all Palestinians are guilty, which is now a mainstream view in the army and in Israel. Both services are capable of distinguishing between a government worker and a member of Hamas, or indeed a member of its armed wing, the Al-Qassam Brigades, which is prescribed as a terrorist group in the UK and other countries. Channel 4 also interviewed Abdullah and have now decided to drop him. This too treats Abdullah and his father like a bad smell, but neither have done anything wrong. Nor is there any evidence that Hamas influenced the BBC documentary, whose script was written in London. If Hamas had had anything to do with it, the following would almost certainly not have appeared. One person on the road is filmed saying, "They've killed our children, killed our women," while Sinwar is hiding under the ground. We do not know the father's views about Hamas, but let us assume for one moment he supports their aims. Does this automatically disqualify his son from appearing in a documentary meant to represent the Palestinian narrative? It's a well-known fact in Palestinian society that children do not blindly follow the political beliefs of their parents. It's common to find sons in Fatah and fathers in Hamas. To claim that the son is compromised by the work of his father is absurd. Both the BBC and Channel 4 have a public service duty to be impartial in all their editorial output. This means applying the same editorial standards to Israelis and Palestinians alike, but they patently do not. On the first anniversary of the 7th of October Hamas attack, the BBC ran a documentary on the testimonies of the survivors of the Nova Music Festival. The film, We Will Dance Again, was heart-wrenching to watch, but no one would have dared demand that this documentary be taken off air because the majority of those interviewed were of military age or reservists, or to have questioned the reliability of their testimonies because of their families' political affiliations. Indeed, this is what was said. I quote, "Around 3,500 partygoers went to the music festival. 364 were murdered and 44 others taken hostage." The word murdered is wholly justified as a description of what happened on October the 7th to unarmed civilians attending a rock concert. But the documentary on Gaza says only that more than 46,800 Palestinians in Gaza had died. Let us be clear about what's taking place here. Israel's prosecution of a war that openly involves war crimes, like the current withholding of aid, electricity and water to Gaza, would be impossible without the silence of the media. It buys this silence by courting and grooming significant numbers of editorial staff in the expectation that one or two will end up in key positions of editorial control. And it intimidates them whenever the Palestinian voice breaks out of its collective gag. On the rare occasion when that happens, the Palestinian voice is as eloquent and as righteous as any other oppressed people throughout history. I have reported from Masafer Yatta, a collection of hamlets in the South Hebron Hills in the occupied West Bank, which the Israeli army declared a firing range. Like many others, when the story of the continual eviction of Palestinians failed to get global attention. Here, the villagers are being pushed to live in caves as their homes are being bulldozed. It took a documentary like no other land, produced by a team that included Palestinian filmmaker Bassel Adra and Israeli journalist Yuval Abraham, to get global attention for this village. Their film won an award at the Berlin Film Festival and latterly an Oscar. This testament to the peaceful determination of around 1,000 Palestinians, half of whom are children, in 8 villages to stay on their land, took years to come to light. Filming began in 2019. The film was recorded before the Hamas attack of October 2023. All the violence shown in it is done by the Israeli state. Palestinians in the South Hebron Hills have nothing but words and their moral right to be on their land, to confront the ceaseless expansion of the Israeli state. And yet, when this film won one of the major awards at the Berlinale, it caused a major political storm. Germany's Minister of State for Culture, Claudia Roth, was criticized for clapping the 2 filmmakers. She justified it by saying she was only clapping for the Israeli one, not the Palestinian. Abraham ended his acceptance speech with a call for a ceasefire in Gaza and for a political solution to end the occupation. Nothing more. And yet, Berlin Mayor Kai Wegner described the speeches at the Berlinale as an intolerable relativization. He wrote on X, "The full responsibility for the deep suffering in Israel and Gaza Strip lies with Hamas." This year's Berlinale has faced a widespread call for boycott, both for its silence over Gaza and its handling of the backlash against no other land. The good news is that Israel's propaganda machine is not working. Public opinion in all the Western nations whose media and festivals practice this censorship is turning rapidly pro-Palestinian. The trend is sharpest in America, where 59% of Democrats sympathize with the Palestinian people, a 16-point jump in last year, while only 21% sympathize with Israel, a drop of 14 points. This shift in public opinion is unprecedented. It's no wonder that Israel and its army of supporters are panicking. When this conflict is over and Palestinians have the state they so richly deserve, this period will be looked back on as the Western liberal media's darkest hour. Where were you and what did you do when Gaza and the occupied West Bank was being pounded into dust? A future generation will ask its parents. The answer will be interesting to hear. They cannot say that they did not know, because they do.